All right, ladies and D-Gents, welcome to the Distinguished D-Gents podcast, UFC 290 International Fight Week. I am one half of the Distinguished D-Gents. I'm Steve Big Bucks Beta. I am with my cohort, my partner in crime, Jason Money Mansman. Hopefully, third time's the charm here.
God willing. Good to be back. Good to be back. Let's hope it goes smoothly.
Absolutely, man. Let me tell you. So last time we got together, it was UFC Jacksonville fight night. We did pretty good. I think you had the highest winning record out of between me, you, and our friend Spaceman Sam. He actually did pretty terrible. But tell us how you did, bud.
Yeah, no, did very well. My prelim pick, Baby Shark, came in. Like I said, she was going to. Macy Barber came in. Knew that Josh Emmett was going to go down, and David Onama, the underdog pick of the card, came through as well. So very good UFC card.
Yeah, definitely a good week. I went 3-1-1, and I got it. But before we get into this 290 card, we got to talk about that. My one loss. Unfortunately, sometimes you listen to these podcasts and you get guys like us who we don't do this as a profession. We do this more for fun, but we also have been doing this for a couple of years now. So sometimes you get talked out of making bad bets when you listen to friends like Money Mansman and Spaceman Sam, who's a pretty solid MMA expert despite his bad record last week. I unfortunately talked myself into taking a Josh Emmett bet, despite having listened to multiple sharps and my cohorts tell me not to, and that Ilya Taforia was the bet. I had a parlay with him and Brendan Allen, even though me and you both like David Onama, even though me and you both like Macy Barber to get the win. No, I parlayed it with Josh Emmett. So that was a losing ticket. I'm not only going to catch heat from you, Mansman, but as is the Distinguished D-Gents tradition, I'm going to have to catch some fire here with our patented cinnamon whiskey punishment shot. So I'm going to eat this as a lesson to myself to listen to the wise words of others next time. Don't talk yourself into making bad plays. So cheers to you.
Flanja.
Oh.
That sounded painful. That sounded painful.
That did not go down. That did not go down well, but that's okay. We're gonna persevere and conquer, and we're gonna get through the UFC 290 card. So what is your overall thoughts on this card? Other than the fact that we already know this is a juiced card, we already know the International Fight Week is a big week in the UFC. Last 2 years they kind of focused it more on Abu Dhabi, but this time around, especially with the upcoming fight night on September 18th. It seems they're more focused on the Mexican fighters. I kind of wanted to get your input on this and whether you think it's a good or bad change for the UFC and just overall.
Yeah, that's a big market, of course, and yeah, there's a lot of Mexican fighters fighting, and I think it's going to be a good card. It's absolutely juiced. I love the main card, especially. Prelims is sort of hit and miss for me, but the main card is. Other than one fight, which we'll get to later, really excited for the main card.
Yeah, the main card I'm excited for. Even the prelims, I'm actually shockingly. There's some fights on the prelims I'm actually really looking forward to, and the only spoiler I really have is I have an underdog pick for each section of the card, so we'll see how much we match up on this. We will see. Where we go. But with that said, Money Management, if you can, why don't you kick off the first fight on the early prelims? I do have DraftKings odds are up right now. We were experiencing technical difficulties earlier, and I'm still trying to get back up and running. So just bear with me, folks, for the time being until I'm up and good.
Sure. Let me pull it up just because I want to make sure I get them in the proper order. Sometimes when I look at them out of order. So sorry, everyone. Just bear.
It's all right. I thought my computer would reboot by this time.
Sorry, just bear with me. I almost got it.
Here we go. I got the first one. First fight opening up the early prelims. While Money Mansman looks this up, we got Kamuela,
Yeah, that's a
The Jawaiian Kirk at plus 130 on DraftKings. He's going up against Esteban El Gringo Ribovics. He's a minus 150. That name sounds familiar. We handicapped him back on UFC 285, who got a short notice opponent and lost that fight by a unanimous decision. He now gets another short notice fighter here and is still a favorite. Money Mansman, this is your fight here. It's the Mansman special. First fight on the early prelims. What's your take on this one?
Yeah, this wasn't one of the ones I was liking, strangely enough. If I had to go with it, I would go with Ribovics just because Kirk is going off like a really, really long layoff. I think it's been over a year since he's fought last, and he's only 12-5 overall. So this, it isn't one of the ones I had a whole lot on. I like other fights on the prelim card better than this one. So this would probably be a pass for me. But yeah, I think really Ribovics is the only sort of play here, considering the amount of time that Kirk's sort of been, out of action. So
yeah, and I'm kind of with you there. I'm also taking Ribovics in this situation. Both of them are 1-1 in the UFC. Both of them are coming off losses. But like I said, Ribovics like I said, it was a late notice opponent. He lost by decision. And sometimes with those late notice opponents, like I tend to avoid them. But sometimes like that does, like it actually does hurt the more favorited fighter because you have to think they also prepped for a different opponent. And on late notice, if they take it, it's kind of the same disadvantage no matter how you look at it. This time around, though, I think you look at Kamuela Kirk, lost by submission to Damon Jackson over a year ago. He was actually originally slated to fight Ribovics back in 285. He was the one that had to cancel, I believe, due to injury. But he's also 3-3 in his last 6 fights. Meanwhile, Ribovics, he does still have 11 finishes under his belt. Before the loss, he had 5 finishes by TKO. So I'm taking Ribovics here to get the win here, like he should have done in 285, just to kick off the card. I don't know if it actually goes by knockout. It looks like a decision to me, but what else do you got on that?
And last point, I mean, Ribovics didn't exactly lose to a scrub either. I mean, the guy he lost to is not a tomato can. So
he lost to like Razabiv. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's just how we're going to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, he's 18-5 overall, so not a joke. But yeah, okay, next fight. I'm done with that one.
As am I. All right. Next fight, we got flyweight battle. We got Shannon, the Turkish delight, Ross, going up against Jesus Aguilar, who is 8-2, minus 140 favorite. Ross plus 120, 13-7. Ross is a 0-2 UFC fighter. He lost one in Contender Series. He lost one as a UFC fighter, both by TKO. Aguilar 1-1. He did win Contender Series contract. Last fight, though, he lost by a first-round submission to Tatsuro Taira. We will get to later in the card. And I don't know if it's just chalky McChalkerson coming through here, or if this is just you see a guy who has yet to win any type of UFC fight, including Contender Series, and you just don't think the guy is worth it. I mean, 13-7, you're talking about like what, 60% he wins. Got knocked out his last fight, and Tatsuro Taira, I mean, let's be real, he's turning out to be a potential contender down the line. The odds are kind of reflecting close. They reflect a little close for a fight that I actually think is really outmatched, even though he is only 8-2. So I'm going with Jesus Aguilar. All of his fights have ended by submission or decision, so that would be my double chance bet there for Aguilar. I don't think the odds have come out yet, but Money Mansman, what's your play here?
No, 100%. Aguilar is one of the guys I like in the prelims for the reasons you said. I mean, Terr is a real deal sort of fighter. That's not a bad loss at all. And Shannon Ross, I mean, he got knocked out on the Contender Series, and then he got knocked out in the UFC his next fight. Like, there's no way this should be this close of a like betting spread to me. So 100%, I like Aguilar. I think he's the better fighter, and one of the plays on the prelims I really like.
DraftKings odds for Aguilar -3.5. He's plus 100 if you really want to be bold. But that is also kind of taking him by decision, which I do think is likely here in this scenario. And also, Shannon Ross, he lost 3 of his last 4. And now he's coming in at only a plus 120. I'm surprised it's not a plus like 520. But especially the way some of these fights are.
Yeah. And by the way, he beat a guy who's 6-5 for his one decision win in those 4. So Shannon Ross isn't exactly setting the world on fire.
No, not at all. So 2 for 2 so far. Moving on to the third fight. I'm interested to get your take because I kind of have an interesting kind of thought on this one. We got Cameron MSP Saaiman, 8-0 bantamweight fight, -520, going up against Terrance Terror Mitchell, who's 14-2, plus 390, making his UFC debut. He's actually technically making a return from the Ultimate Fighter, from where he lost on Ultimate Fighter 24 to Kai Kara France. Mansman, are you going with the -520 favorite in Cameron Saaiman, or is Terrance Mitchell worth a chip flick as a plus 390 dog?
I couldn't. Mind you, there's no way in hell I'm betting, -400 with Cameron Saaiman. I'm just not seeing it. Like, I don't think he's good enough to do that. I couldn't get there with Terrance Mitchell to me. I just didn't think the competition level was high enough. You look at like his last 3 fights. I mean, he submits a guy who's 1-1. He submits a guy who's 4-3. Like, the competition wasn't there for me. I can't blame you if you flick a trip on Terrance Mitchell because I get it. Like, the dude's 15-2. Like, he's not, as underdogs go, you could have worse. I think the spread is kind of ridiculous here, but at the same time, I'm not laying, all that money on Cameron Saaiman. I'm just not his biggest fan.
I can't blame you. I am a Cameron Saaiman fan, but even I think this is a bit ridiculous because you have to remember, if you remember his last fight too, by the way, he fought Leomana Martinez where he went to a major decision. And I remembered what happened. He lost a point due to a kick to the groin and ended up costing him probably a unanimous decision, but he didn't really look that particularly impressive against like an average UFC guy. Meanwhile, you got Terror Mitchell coming in. I know he hasn't been in the UFC in a while. I believe he's been tearing it up in the Alaska MMA circuit, but he's also coming in on short notice. Actually, as of 6/22, he's coming in on short notice, but he's coming in on a 12-fight win streak in that Alaska circuit. He had a weird 5-year layoff though as well, but he has been 2-0 since his return. And I think, like, personally, I'm going with Cameron Saaiman just because I am somewhat of a fan of his. I do think he does get the win, but this to me just seems like the sort of unanimous decision he should have got last time without that point deduction. And also don't forget though, and I'm going to screw up names right now and I meant to make this comparison too, but I want to say it was 6 or something months ago, one of Sean O'Malley's gym partners came in on a short notice fight in his UFC debut after having somewhat of a layoff, and he ended up knocking the guy out in the first round as like a plus 700 underdog. So if Terror comes in and actually gets a finish by submission, I would not be surprised. Cameron Saaiman looked a bit flat in his last fight. He hasn't really fought anyone that impressive to me, and we've seen a slew of these UFC fighters 8-0, 9-0, 10-0 coming in against either old school veteran MMA fighters or just coming in against someone who's equally matched, and that undefeated streak just kind of goes out the window. So it wouldn't surprise me here, but like I said, I am going to go ride with Saaiman on this one.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can't blame you there. All right, what do we got? I think we got the Petrino Prachnio fight. I can never pronounce the name.
That's correct. Vitor Petrino coming up in a light heavyweight fight against Marcin Prachnio.
Oh, Prachnio.
Prachnio 16-6 plus 240. Petrino, he's 8-0 minus 285 favorite. Petrino 2-0 record, 1 win on the Contender Series. Prachnio is 3-4, but he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, including his last fight with that unanimous decision against William Nightmare Knight.
Yeah, that was one for the record books there.
Petrino won unanimous decision against Antoine Turkish, and he won 5 of his last 6 by a knockout. Last time he fought, he did get Fight of the Night honors. Money Mansman, I don't know how we're going to go on this one, but are you going with the undefeated Petrino, or are you going with Prachnio as a dog?
I would be looking at Prachnio, and the reason why is sort of anti-public, like, betting animus. I could see a lot of people discounting Prachnio after the William Knight fight because nothing really happened. And Prachnio, I mean, he played it smart. He was like, this fucking dude is not gonna, the only way he wins is if he hits me in the face. So I'm just going to break his legs and not let him hit me in the face. And that's what he did for 3 rounds. And I feel like he lost a lot of momentum because of that fight. I mean, when you look at it, his last loss was unanimous decision, 29-28 to Felipe Lins, who's not a bad fighter. Like, I just think Prachnio's too big of an underdog to ignore against a guy who, he's beaten up some guys on the regional circuit, but really only has, 1 UFC fight under his belt? So I'll take the dog here.
I'm also riding with the dog and Prachnio, and a lot of similar things that you mentioned. And going into the William Knight fight, what I will say is like in previous videos, I think, and maybe even some Twitter posts, we had a lot of shit thrown at him. I saw an article come out recently about William Knight. Apparently, he had a multitude of deaths in the family, like multiple family members dying within the same week. And he was just completely out of it, despite looking like it. But getting into the fighting reasonings behind it, you're actually
the fight before that, and the fight before that, and the one before that. Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't disagree with you there. But what I'm getting to is that I think Prachnio is going to lose. I don't think he just lost a lot of momentum. I think the narrative of that victory was not about how he played it smart, how he just kicked his legs like, it was his job, and just didn't go headhunting for a guy who really wasn't fighting back. He took the smart victory. He took less damage. He's now able to come back for another fight against a rising up and comer. This is where I think Marcin Prachnio is going to get his narrative fight. I think if he wins this one by knockout, he's going to regain what momentum he lost. And I think at plus 242, for a guy who has essentially almost tripled the amount of fights as his opponent, and has been on a winning streak, 3 of his last 4, like I said. I definitely think Prachnio is the play here over Petrino, who, kind of like you said, he hasn't really fought anybody. I know he had Fight of the Night honors, but it was like kind of against another up-and-comer. It wasn't really anything special as far as I could recall. And no, I just think this is another instance where veteran presence is going to come in and kill momentum for a rising up-and-comer.
Yeah. No, agree with you there, 100%.
All right, last fight on the early prelims. We got Tatsuro Taira, who we mentioned earlier, 13-0. They're fighting at a catch weight at 130. Edgar Pitbull Chairez steps up to the plate on short notice.
It actually, according to the UFC site, it looks like that's on the main prelims now. I don't know.
If they moved it.
Before. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know they moved it. Oh, hold on. I guess we'll get to it later when we talk about the main card. But did the Jalen Turner fight get scrapped? Or is that still on?
As far as I could tell, it's still on. I'm looking at the UFC site now, live. I don't see that it's been taken off. So
Neither do I, and you can actually still bet on it. So we'll just say it's live. But no, this is good. I actually like that it was moved to the main card. But either way, we'll get into it. Tatsuro Taira, 13-0, minus 1050 at a catch weight going up against the Pitbull Chairez, who's making his UFC debut. He won his last fight in a fourth round armbar in Fury Fight Club. He lost to Clayton Carpenter on his Dana White's Contender Series debut. He has 6 submissions, 4 knockouts under his belt. And Taira, meanwhile, 13-0, 10 finishes, 7 submissions, 3 knockouts. Fight was moved from the last UFC fight night due to his opponent missing weight. We get to see him in action this time around. And he won his last fight against Jesus Aguilar in a first-round triangle armbar. So,
fighting at bantamweight too now.
Oh, wait, they moved it up? Because last I checked, it was a catch weight.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. It's a catch. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, the original fight was the original fight was a bantamweight, but I think because Pitbull stepped in on short notice, they moved to catch weight.
Yeah.
Either way, though, Taira 13-0. He's at minus 1050. I'm not going to overthink this one. Tyra's the play. He's the superior fighter in this scenario. Pitbull lost to Clayton Carpenter. He's coming in on short notice. I think he's coming to get his exposure. I don't even know what he's expecting in this fight, to be honest with you. But I'm taking Taira by finish here. I actually would be tempted to play Taira first round finish if it were me, if I could.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we talked about it with Aguilar. Like, one of the reasons we like him is because we think Taira is the real deal. And yeah, I think there's a couple guys sort of swinging for the fences in this card. And hey, good for them. Like, if I'm a no-name prospect, sort of get my chance in the UFC, give me a guy like Taira who's 13-0. Give me a guy like Bo Nickel who's, a rising star. Like, fuck it, swing for the fences. But yeah, no offense to, Pitbull Chairez, but don't like his chances. Don't like his chances in that fight.
No, I don't either. Tatsuro Taira by first round submission. It's plus 110. So I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know. But I mean, I guess we could look at a prop real quick because I know we're moving a little bit fast. I mean, do you see this coming out of the first? I sure don't. But
let me see his last 3. Let's see, round 1, round 2. I'm just gonna pull up Taira. Let's see if
they did. Damn, they did move it around on us. I literally just noticed, but
yeah, I'm gonna see. Let's see. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of his 13 wins, first round finishes. So percentages are there for you.
Tatsuro Taira first round minus 105. That would probably be my lock. I know we were talking early prelims and it got moved, but yeah, Tatsuro Taira first round win would be my best bet on this one personally. Otherwise, it would be the underdog in Marcin Prachnio. Any other insights you got on this one?
No. Let's move on.
All right, moving on. We're technically onto the prelims, but now we're on the prelim side for what I have handicapped ready. We got a rematch from UFC 284. It's Jimmy the Brute Crute going up against Alonzo Menifield again, because I know it sounds familiar. We handicapped it last time. Last time they fought ended in a majority draw, or maybe it was a unanimous draw, but I want to say it was majority. Jimmy Crute, minus 135 favorite. Alonzo Menifield is a plus 115 dog. Jimmy Crute, number 14th ranked light heavyweight. UFC records, Jimmy Crute's 5-3-1. Alonzo, 8-3-1. But Menifield, last time he was an underdog was against Jimmy Crute. It went to a draw, and it was due to a third round fence grab where Menifield lost a point. What do you think happens this time around, Manzo?
Yeah, my handicap is based on the first fight, and I'd go with Menifield, especially as an underdog, because when you look at it, I actually, this is one of the fights I really zeroed in as one that sort of like interested me. Menifield's winning the first 2 rounds, and it kind of beaten up Jimmy Crute a little bit. And, he does the fence grab, loses that last round on, I think, 2 of the judges' scorecards. And that was the draw. I mean, but if he doesn't grab the fence, I think he wins the last time. So you're basically going to give me a guy who I think basically won the first fight as an underdog. I'm going to take that. So this was sort of the second one I really liked on the prelim. Aguilar was number 1. This is number 2 on the prelim. I like Menifield.
I'm with you again. We're I think 6-0.
This is scary. Woo.
Yeah, we're in lockstep here, but I'm with you. I mean, Alonzo Menifield plus 120 for a guy who probably should have won the first time. Kind of like you mentioned, but also Jimmy Crute. I mean, he was on his home field turf in Australia the last time he fought, and he squeaked out a draw. This time around, they're flying all the way out to Vegas, and I just don't know whether that's going to behoove Jimmy Crute or if it's going to hurt him this time around and benefit Alonzo Menifield. I also kind of have a crazy feeling that this one's going to end by knockout. Both fighters, when they do win, all 5 of them have finishes. Crute has 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. However, Alonzo Menifield, 7 finishes in the UFC, 6 of them by knockout. So if I was looking to play like a prop, to actually have Menifield win, I would put a chip on him to win by knockout at plus 185 and just get that juice. But even maybe double down, put him at plus 120 to win, plus 185 as a knockout. Maybe as a hedge, you could do it by decision, plus 700, but I don't know if this one goes the distance this time. I know it was awfully close the last time where it almost got stopped.
And Crute has been knocked out twice, so he has been susceptible to that.
Yeah, and I will say Jimmy Crute, I mean, that was you got to wonder, is that the best that Jimmy Crute has looked? And is that the best Jimmy Crute that you're going to get? Because if it is, then Alonzo Menifield has to be the play. But if you think Jimmy Crute, fell flat or got gassed out and now he's worked on it since, I mean, I don't know how else you would play Jimmy Crute other than, potentially that you think that he won the first 2 rounds anyways, but I don't know how you see it in that aspect. I just think for a guy who barely squeaked out a draw, I don't know how you get him as a favorite here.
Yeah. No, agreed. Damn, this is scary.
This is a bit concerning, but I don't know. We haven't done this in a while, but we're going to see how this goes. Next fight on the card, though, it's actually the one and the only women's fight on the whole entire card. We got Yazmin Jauregui, 10-0, minus 400 at the strawweight, going up against Denise Gomes at 7-2. She's a plus 300. Both fighters coming off a win via TKO. Both have 2 wins in the UFC. Denise Gomes has one of them in Contender Series. Yazmin, 7 knockouts under her belt. Denise, 5 knockouts under her belt. Yazmin has the height and reach advantage, and Gomes is 1-1 as a UFC underdog. I don't know necessarily. I think when you have 2 women who are scrappers, I think it's just easy to get lost into the knockout prop. But kind of a system play here. This one, to me, I would play the over round limit. I would play fighter to win by decision, because usually when you have 2 brawlers going in, and especially I've seen this with multiple women's fights, you see them come in more cautious. They don't want to get clipped. They tend to try to go into the wrestling more often. But I think even then, in my opinion, Yazmin is the better fighter. Minus 400, the odds kind of seem to imply that as well. Not really an overthinking. I guess I could see this going either way, but I'm going with Yazmin Jauregui on this one, minus 400. I would bet it to go to a decision, even though she's had a lot of knockouts under her belt. And I think it's just because she might be getting someone slightly under her caliber. I mean, and the odds kind of reflect it too. Yazmin Jauregui by decision plus 110. Compared to knockouts, they're all higher.
Yeah. Yeah, this is sort of a throwaway fight for me, and I kind of hate it because I love to bet the women's fights. I mean, Jauregui is the sort of smart choice. Although, again, as I was handicapping some of these, this is one of the ones where I sort of read up on the last fight. And, like, Estela Nunez actually hurt her in the first round. Like, she got wobbled in the first round before basically sort of taking over in the second round and getting the knockout. So I didn't really like that performance. Denise Gomes seems like a sort of tough brawler type fighter who, will stand and bang. So I don't know. This could be one of those fights where I see, right? Doesn't it feel like one of those fights where there could be a lot of punching, but no one really gets hurt? And it's just sort of 3 rounds where both fighters are bloodied and bruised, and it's just like a scrappy decision where the judges could sort of, I think it's set up on a card with Brandon Moreno and a lot of Mexican fighters. This seems like one where the UFC would sort of want the Mexican fighter to win. But
yeah,
it's a close battle. Close.
That's exactly how I'm kind of thinking of this. But I mean, this just seems like a fight for Yazmin to look good for 15 minutes, not necessarily get a knockout. And like I said, when you look at the odds on DraftKings, you look at the over. You look at the over under prop. The over is the favorite. You look at whether it'll go the distance. It's the not the highest, but it's the more even number. Like, it's literally plus 110 right now for Yazmin to win by decision. And not to mention too, I mean, that's not to mention like the other fighter, Denise Gomes. I mean, she's no scrub either. I mean, she does have 5 knockouts under her belt. So this seems like a stand and bang situation, cage hugging. I could see this going 3 rounds. I could see this being 29-28, maybe even a split decision down the line, and they give it to Yazmin. That's just the way I see this card. Not this card, but that fight particularly going. But it wouldn't shock me either way. But my play, again, it's Yazmin. And I don't even think the money line is worth the bother. Over 2.5 and minus 160 is a bit chalky. Take Yazmin to win by the decision of plus 110. You could even bet it at knockout and get plus money to play both sides.
Yeah. But I'm not confident. This might throw away fight. I'm not. Yeah, I don't.
Gotcha. Not as confident either, but all right, let's see what happens here. Headlining the prelim card, Robbie, Ruthless, Lawler. Last fight, retirement fight, plus 195, going up against Niko. Oh, wait, shit, I did miss one. I apologize, guys. That was the headliner. We have a co-headliner for the prelims. Jack Della Maddalena, 14-2 welterweight, going up against Josiah, the Muscle Hamster Harrell, making his UFC debut.
Is that fight still on? I don't see that.
Did they? I was going to ask. Did they?
Let me see.
Happen?
Hold on.
Did something happen?
Yeah, the fight was canceled.
Okay, that's why. Damn it! I knew something.
Yeah, no. Lawler Price is the last one. Yeah, that
So
got removed. There was another medical issue.
Okay, so that's why the Chairez and Taira fight got moved. Okay, Scrap that, folks. Maybe we'll edit that out. Maybe we won't. Okay, try this again. Ruthless Robbie Lawler, plus 195, welterweight fight, going up against Niko, the hybrid price, minus 225 favorite. 15-6, 0-2. Last fight, he lost to Phil Rowe by knockout. Robbie Lawler lost by TKO to Brian Barberina in his last fight. He's a plus 190. This is a retirement fight, Mansman. And Lawler has lost 5 of his last 6. Is he going to go out in a blaze of glory and ride into the sunset, or is this going to be another sort of MMA retirement fight that ends in disappointment?
I mean, I think he's going to ride into the sunset, all right, by losing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not all that confident about Niko Price, but Robbie Lawler seems like a guy who's done. And how many of these UFC retirement fights have we seen?
I could tell you.
It's very rare that you get the, Henry Cejudo sort of leaves on top, or the, the Khabib Nurmagomedov who leaves on. Like, for the most part, they do the wrestling, you go out on your shield. And it seems like we've seen 100 of these fights where it's someone in their last fight retiring who, unless it's a champion defending their belt against a scrub, Amanda Nunes, like, Robbie Lawler's just basically been dead for the better part of 2 years now. And this is, I could see it's going to be, I could see this 30-27, 29-28, 30-27 sort of fight.
See, I was with you until that last part.
Unless Lawler gets his jaw broken, that's possible too.
Brian Barberina literally put a standing TKO in on him. Like, I give Robbie Lawler credit. The guy didn't die, but he should have. Like, that should have been his last fight. Like, it was not good. Brian Barberina literally laid into him, gave him a 5-piece with a soda and large fry, and Lawler just refused to go down. Now, I will say, Niko Price, I don't think is going to give him a 5-piece with a soda and large fry, considering this fucking idiot had a no contest with Donald Cerrone because of an eye poke. Had it overturned. He had a draw. He had a draw overturned to a no contest over marijuana. Couldn't just stay off the weed. But this guy also lost and got knocked out by Phil Rowe. He's 7-6-0-2 in the UFC. And I know Lawler's on a losing streak, but wouldn't it seem like if this was under normal circumstances, if Robbie Lawler was a plus 190 dog against a Niko Price, you'd be half tempted to flick a chip on fucking Robbie Lawler?
Yeah, but it's not Robbie Lawler. It's the ghost of Robbie Lawler. It's the zombie form of Robbie Lawler.
Yeah. So I'm with you on this aspect. It's a retirement fight, and you mentioned how many of these have we seen. So I'm going to give you 10 that we've seen just in the last 2 years, and I want you to let me know when to stop because I have 10. Benson Henderson, Claudio Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, Glover Teixeira, which actually wasn't that bad. I think he lost by decision. TJ Dillashaw, Jorge Masvidal against Gilbert Burns.
Oh, jeez.
Here's a good one. Marlon Moraes, the ghost of Marlon Moraes. Uriah Hall, Jose Aldo, Joanna Jezerit. I don't even know how the hell you say your last name. All these fighters in their last fight either got smoked or didn't even come close to winning. And like I said, under normal pretenses, I'd be tempted to bet Lawler. It's his retirement fight. He has not looked good since the second quote. I don't even know if I want to say second stint, but his one victory was Nick Diaz, not Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz. I
gotta see when's Robbie Lawler's last legitimate fucking victory.
I think it was 5 or 6 years ago.
Donald Cerrone in 2017. This guy got submitted by Ben Askren.
Well, I think a lot of people got submitted by Ben Askren, so I don't.
Lost to Colby Covington, Neil Magny, Rafael Dos Anjos, Tyrone Woodley. Tyrone Woodley knocked him out. Are you serious?
Tyrone Woodley. Yeah.
Tyrone Woodley. Bro, this guy, how's this guy still
I hope I'm wrong. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I'm not a fan of Niko Price. I don't think he's really good. But this just seems like a fight even he could win by knockout if he tried. He lost 4 of his last 5 by knockout, but, Robbie Lawler kind of got fucked up in 5 of his last 6. It's one of those, I like the fighter, but not enough to bet on him. I hope Robbie Lawler wins. I really do. It would be refreshing to see a guy to win by knockout and then put the gloves down and call it a day.
A retirement fight that's not like, again, unless you're literally a champ beating a scrub, like to actually see a legitimate retirement fight. And meanwhile, the other guy, what's his name? Brad Miller, right? I got his name right. Brad Miller? Jim Miller.
Yeah.
Jim Miller. No, Jim Miller. This motherfucker's like 800 years old and just smoking people.
Yeah. Exactly. Just fucking ancient wonder just refuses to die. But
and with that, I think we're to the main card, right?
I think we're on to the main card, bud. Pretty much in lockstep. I think we have yet to disagree, but I think it's coming.
I think it's coming. Not this first fight, though.
Oh, yeah. Let's get to the first fight. It's definitely not this. All right. Bo Nickel, NCAA former wrestling champ, is fighting at 4-0. Biggest UFC favorite in history, minus 2,800. Middleweight fight is going up against a literal tomato can.
Honestly, I'd like put my mortgage on this if I wasn't afraid of the possibility Bo Nickel might throw the fight. Like, that's the only... Knowing the UFC, I could see it happening. Like, you never know.
Not against this guy. I mean, I know he was... So, when I said tomato can, it's really Val, the animal Woodburn. He's a plus 1,300. Supposedly 7-0. But Money Mansman, you sent me a link to his last fight, and...
You guys, if you're out there within the sound of our voice, look up a Val Woodburn like highlights or Val Woodburn fight. He's fighting in some like rinky-dink bullshit organization. Here's how stupid it was. The video clip I sent to Big Bucks. This is how bad the organization is. The male announcer is like, "Oh yeah, Val Woodburn, black belt in jiu-jitsu." There's this female commentator with him. Not funny, not laughing, deadpan serious. No, he isn't.
No.
The guy literally is there like, yeah, no, you're right. He doesn't have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but, you know, he trains with a lot of high quality, you know, black belt, like, you know, jiu-jitsu practitioners.
No, he doesn't.
Again, no, he doesn't. Like, this is how bad this fucking organization is. Like, when you watch him, he's literally fighting in some, like, regional circuit in fucking, like, Orlando or some shit. Fighting.
It literally looked like, if any of you out there played UFC 4 and did the Creative Fighter, it literally looks like the parking lot cage that your fighter starts out in trying to get noticed.
It did.
It was so bad. And Val did not look impressive. He literally hugged a guy for 2.5 minutes and then somehow speaked out.
The guy he was hugging, mind you, was literally like 6 inches taller and couldn't get a takedown to save his life. I mean, it's so bad. Like,
Val Woodburn,
no chance.
Val Woodburn, by the way, I just want you to know, he came out in the media, said, and I quote, "A Bo Nickel upset is mandatory for me." And didn't think twice to fight him on 5 days' notice.
I mean, he could have a year's notice. It wasn't going to make a difference.
No, I don't overthink this, folks. Bo Nickel is the bet. I'm actually literally looking right now to see what the props are. Because there has to be somewhere FanDuel, DraftKings. Somebody has to have under 60 seconds.
Plus 275 the last time I saw it.
Oh, I would have to lock that. I mean,
you could get within minute 1 through 2 plus 375, I think, or plus 370.
I mean, is that even like a question? Is that like a joke?
I mean, I gotta see one more time. Hold on 1 second. I got
fight to go the distance. No, minus 1,600. Like, you literally get better odds betting on that than you would on betting Bo Nickel.
I mean, yeah, because maybe Bo Nickel. I mean, no, they're just unless the fight's rigged. I mean, there's no way it's gonna. I mean, this guy submitted Jamie Pickett in 2 minutes. And, like, Jamie Pickett would kill this guy.
I would literally bet the ladder for the first 4 minutes of the first round. I would literally throw a unit on each one. Like, maybe a half a unit for the first minute, and then another unit, and then maybe, like, a minute. Like literally, the longer it goes in the first, you just try to recoup those losses. That's how I would play. That's the only way I think you play this. Bo Nickel, not even Bo Nickel to win, just for the fight to be won in the first 5 minutes and bet the ladder. Like, you probably could profit off of
that. I mean, again, unless Bo Nickel accidentally walks into an elbow or something, there's zero chance of this guy winning.
Yeah, no, there's just no way. If Val Woodburn upset is mandatory. I'll give him the spirit. I mean, it's better than Jamie Pickett, who came in and was like, oh, yeah, I didn't even know who this guy was. I just kind of accepted the fight. Like, not having any clue what he was stepping into. At least Val knows what he's walking into. And again, this is another fighter. He's getting his 5 seconds of fame, because that's all it's going to be, 5 seconds.
Yeah, and then he's going to go back to his regional circuit and fight his little cream puffs, and yeah.
Don't worry. For that combat night, it's combat night, by the way. That was the promotion. He is the middleweight champ, so I mean, he's gonna come back to like a belt. He's had 5 TKO stoppages, so maybe Bo Nickel does run into like a flying knee, just like
maybe he gets unlucky. Like, I don't know, he has like a fucking heart attack doing literally. I mean, that's unless it's like a medical emergency or he accidentally like stumbles into a knee, there's zero chance that yeah.
Yeah, I can't justify this play. It's so bad. Like, yeah. I mean, I know we've said this before, where like you take a big favorite like this and parlay it with a dog to give yourself a little boost. I mean, Bo Nickel's now he's a minus 2,100. Like, so I guess people are betting their mortgages, but I mean, even if you bet him with Alonzo and Menifield, you're only getting plus 130. And right now, Menifield's a plus 120. Like,
yeah.
Do you really want to do that to yourself? Like,
no, it's just unbettable. So.
It's so unfortunate. But speaking of unfortunate, we're going to get into the next fight. Lightweight battle. Dan the Hangman Hooker returns at lightweight. Number 12 lightweight. He's 22-12, plus 200. Going up against Jalen the Tarantula Turner, 13-6, number 11 lightweight. Just some stats for you, though. Last fight, Jalen lost to Matus Gamrot via decision. Dan, the Hangman Hooker, knocked out Claudio Puelles by a leg kick to the liver. 12-8 record for the Hangman in the UFC. 7-3 with 1 win in the Contender Series for Turner. All 7 victories were by a finish, 3 of them by knockouts. 4 of them by knockouts, 3 by submission. He's won 4 in a row as a UFC favorite. And Dan the Hangman Hooker lost his last 3 as a UFC underdog to Arnold Allen, Islam Makhachev, and Dustin Poirier. Only 2 pay-per-view losses, though, which was Chandler and Makhachev. And this is where I come in and say, get your catch fire, fireball ready. I'm always due for a bad pick. Jalen Turner came in at 158, overweight today. Literally milked his 2 hours to the last couple minutes and then asked for another hour to cut 2 pounds. You can't, on principle, you cannot bet on Jalen Turner right now. You cannot bet on a guy who lost to Matus Gamrot, hasn't really fought anyone else, against the Hangman, who, let's be honest, fought the top of the top and just proved he couldn't hang. But that doesn't mean he's not like a top 10 gatekeeper. That doesn't mean like he's a scrub.
Yeah, this is the type of fight he wins, right?
I mean, that's my opinion. Like, doesn't this seem like a fight where all the sharp action, a public favorite minus 240 gets upset? Like, out of nowhere.
Well, it wouldn't be
I
out
mean,
of nowhere for me. I'm bitter because I actually had him against Gamrod and lost. He was one of my underdog plays for that card in March, and he lost, and that pissed me off. And then I was looking at him seriously for this card, and then he came
I'm
in
going off
overweight.
camera first. Hey, bud, I'm coming in off camera, but go ahead and keep going.
Yeah. So that really was frustrating to me because I really was thinking about betting Jalen Turner, and he comes in overweight, and I'm pissed off about him at the Gamrod fight. I don't really want to go with Hooker. This will be a no pick for me, but I could definitely see Hooker winning. Just an ugly, ugly situation. I don't like that Turner missed weight. I'm really kind of annoyed with him. And it was a guy who was on a really big streak, and he had a big loss, and then you come in overweight, and he loses a fight like this. I mean, this could be a really big setback for Jalen Turner, who was on a really good run and might have just legitimately ruined his chances to sort of be on pay-per-view cards like this in the future. So disappointing for him, but yeah, I can't blame you if you give a look at Hangman, especially plus money. Makes sense.
I mean, Hangman plus money, but like, I'm gonna go to Jalen Turner. Who has he really beaten? Like, if you really think about it, I mean, I know he's been around for a while. He's a threat to certain guys, but he knocked out Brad Riddell, or sorry, he tapped out Brad Riddell. He knocked out Jamie Malarkey. Other than that, I mean, Euros Medic.
Brock Weaver, Joshua Kulabau. Yeah, I mean,
who was he really?
He had 5 finishes, but not really against anyone good.
Well, not any, but the way I think about it is this. At the time when we were looking at Hangman and Makhachev was a, potential top 5 guy. He was looking like somebody who could be a champion one day. Lo and behold, he was a champion.
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier. Arnold Allen drops weight to go fight an Arnold Allen, a young up-and-comer who completely wrecked him at a weight class he wasn't familiar with. Also was a potential championship contender, lost to Max Holloway. You look at Dustin Poirier, who he went to decision with. Conor McGregor can't say he went to a decision with Dustin Poirier. But this guy can.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he beat Nasrat Haqparast too. Like, I'm getting on the Hooker train a little bit. I think he could win this fight.
Don't get me wrong. I love me some Hangman. I am a huge fan of the Hangman. I would love to see nothing more than a knockout. But this, to me, just seems like a fight where Jalen Turner's kind of already fallen flat with the weight miss. It wouldn't shock me if he comes out a little slow and Hangman just takes advantage of it for 2 rounds. I could see this going into a decision. I could see even the Hangman just tiring him out for the 3rd round and then just going full throttle and, fucking throwing haymakers and clipping him right at the end. We've known Dan Hooker to go 5 rounds. We've known him to go the distance against tough scrappers like Paul Felder. Doesn't it seem like another instance where, like, Jalen Turner's going to try and knock him out and it's just not going to work this time?
Yeah, could definitely be. Or Jalen Turner might try and wrestle and tire himself out. Yeah, that could definitely happen.
Yeah. And I don't compare Jalen Turner to a wrestler like Islam Makhachev or even a Dustin Poirier, to be honest. Like, I don't even think he's on that level. And to me, like, I could see why Jalen Turner's a favorite, but the odds just seem wrong. Like, I don't think Hooker should be this big of a dog. And honestly, too, believe it or not, you could get Dan Hooker at plus 3.5 right now on DraftKings, plus 150. That would probably be one of my locks on this card.
Can you really? Oh, boy, I may play that. I think that's going to be a bet for me.
Yep, that is going to be my play. I'm going to mark that down as well. And with that said, I'm going to go into the next fight. I'm going to let you take the reins with this one before we get into it. Again, I thought we were going to disagree on the Hangman, but holy hell, we're still going strong in lockstep.
When he missed weight, this one we're going to disagree with. I have a feeling.
We're going to see. But yeah.
Robert Whittaker, Dricus Duplessis. On the UFC site, it's telling me Whittaker minus 360, Dricus plus 280. You might have updated odds on FanDuel?
So I'm doing DraftKings for this time around, but
DraftKings.
Yeah. So Whitaker minus 360, 280, but yeah, that's updated odds. I had it at minus 410 for Whitaker. So some late money coming in on Dricus Duplessis. That's fascinating. Duplessis, the number 5 middleweight. Whitaker, number 2. Bobby Knox versus Still Knox. Still Knox had a second round corner stoppage against Derek Brunson. Meanwhile, Whitaker had a unanimous decision win against Marvin Vettori in their last fights. Robert Whitaker, 15-4 in the UFC. Dricus, 5-0. If I told you that Robert Whitaker has only lost to Israel Adesanya in 9 years, what would that tell you?
That's the problem with this fight. I like Dricus. You're a Dricus fan. I'm a Dricus fan. But Whitaker,
I love me the fucking Still Knox. You know that like every time I can, I bet him to win by knockout. And it hit me for 4 of them. So I can't really, or Whitaker 3 of them.
Guy, because he can't beat Izzy. You want him to lose because you want to see somebody new, and the guy just doesn't lose. I mean, he just continues to win. He just continues to beat, up and coming fighters. I mean, just listen to the names: Marvin Vettori, Kelvin Gastelum, Jared Cannonier, Darren Till, Yoel Romero twice. Now we're getting further back, but I mean, you get the idea. Like literally, I mean, the guy fights the best of the division, the next guy up over and over, and he just wins. That's what he does
every time. Yeah, here's my concerns, but also here's where I would handicap, because in my heart of hearts, like Israel Adesanya, I want Dricus Duplessis to win. Not that I'm tired of Robert Whitaker, but I think the middleweight division needs some refreshment for contenders for the title. Dricus, I told you this before in private, but I will say it again. Dricus as a championship contender would be very interesting for the middleweight division.
Yep.
And especially after his controversy in the last fight when he said he's going to be the true African champion. Like Francis Ngannou wasn't born in Cameroon, and like Kamaru Usman wasn't born in Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for Israel Adesanya. Like, I could get a little bit of that, but not really. Like, don't you want to see Dricus kind of win this just to get fucked up by Izzy for 5 rounds? Like, just for karma's sakes. But I'll say this, though. So, in the last fight, and this is going to lead into my pick. I watched the last fight Duplessis was in against Derek Brunson. He looked really bad. And I don't think there's any nice way to say it. He looked like he almost got knocked out in that first round and somehow survived. He almost got choked out at the end, and he survived. Second round, Derek Brunson comes out, tired as shit, out of breath, flat as a pancake. And Dricus also coming in looking tired as shit, out of breath. Manages to squeeze out what bit of energy he has left. He gets a knockout. Literally in the last 5 seconds, they're on the ground. Dricus is on top. Dricus doesn't hear a bell. Throws the hardest hammer fist you've ever seen in the ground position, and Brunson just goes night-night dipshit. And the corner throws in the towel because they've seen enough. And I'll get this on a side tangent with this. I wish more UFC corners would throw in the towel and save their fighters from unnecessary damage, because in that fight, there was just no way Derek Brunson was going to come out of that ready to fight for another 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
So, good stoppage. Duplessis did win. He did get a knockout technically, but not really. It was a corner stoppage. That was with his nose being all messed up. He supposedly was scheduled for surgery to get his nose fixed, and he didn't do it to take the short notice fight with Brunson. Now he's had the surgery. So the question kind of becomes, Whitaker is a guy who will take you for 3 rounds, and he won't run out of breath. He's going to come at you the same way in the first seconds than he will in the last 15. Will Dreykus run out of breath? Will Dreykus be able to stand and bang with Robert Whitaker for 15 minutes? My answer to that, not just based on the Derek Brunson fight, but just based on how Robert Whitaker's been lately too, in these decision fights with Jared Cannonier and Marvin Vettori, he goes into the 3rd and 5th rounds like nothing's happened. Dreykus, I think, is in for the long haul. I don't know if he gets knocked out, but here's my crazy bet. Robert Whitaker by knockout is my play.
Oh, wow.
I don't think Duplessis, because I think when you look at a Derek Brunson, if it wasn't a first-round knockout, it wasn't going to happen. Robert Whitaker could take you for 14 minutes and then in the last minute just throw you in a corner and have his way and look like nothing's happened. Dreykus, though, I mean, he is a dangerous beast, and God, I could see him winning too. I could see him clipping Whitaker in the same fashion in the first round, maybe even in the second, but I think the longer this fight goes, the worse it's going to get for Duplessis.
See, I could see this being a sneaky decision type fight. I really could. Whitaker just sort of staying safe and piecing up Duplessis and just not allowing himself to get his jaw broken. Like just showing sort of a championship maturity that Duplessis doesn't have.
I don't even know if it's necessarily like a championship maturity per se. I just think it comes down to like, I mean, for layman's terms, there's levels to this shit. Robert Whitaker is championship level. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, championship level. Then there's the guys underneath. There's Jared Cannonier. There's Marvin Vettori. There's who the fuck did Vettori just lose to for 5? That was Cannonier.
Yeah.
And then you know what? Maybe there's Dreykus. Like maybe Dreykus belongs in that conversation. Paulo Costa, I would say 3 years ago, would be in that conversation. And I just think Robert Whitaker is on another professional level in comparison. And I don't see this isn't where the hype train is going to favor Dreykus. I think Whitaker's going to come in. Because you have to think, too, for Whitaker, this is his last chance to get a real championship run. Because I said this with his Vettori fight. It's not if he wins, it's how they win. If they win by decision, any fight after that is just going to have more and more pressure.
Yeah.
So, bold play. Whitaker by knockout, -110 right now on FanDuel. Because, and also, too, I could see, like I said, the cardio problem with Dreykus that I saw in the last fight. If that happens again, Brunson got tired the minute that bell rang, and he was done. Whitaker's going to come at you just as strong as he did in the first round, if not harder. And I could just see this being like an early second round stoppage. Like that's just my take. But any other insights you want to throw in?
No, I think we covered it.
So what was your play again? Because I'm taking Whitaker. What was your?
Taking Whitaker as well, and honestly, might look Whitaker by decision if I was going to play a prop play.
Whitaker by decision is +240, so it would value you there.
There's value there. I like that. All right, what do we got? Pantoja's next, right?
It is Pantoja.
Moreno.
Brandon Moreno, the champion. The flyweight champion, Brandon, the Assassin Baby Moreno, going up for the 3rd time against Alexandra, the Cannibal Pantoja. Pantoja is a 25-5, +175, number 2 flyweight. Brandon Moreno, 2nd championship run, -205 favorite, 21-6-2. Both guys won their last fights. Brandon Moreno won by a doctor stoppage against Davison Figueiredo to get the championship belt back. Pantoja got a first-round submission against Alex Perez. Both of them have 9 UFC wins under their belt. Both have 3 UFC losses under the belt. Both have 6 finishes in the UFC. Both have 3 submissions. They last fought on the UFC Fight Night 129 in 2018. Since that fight, Pantoja has been an underdog twice. He went 1-1. Brandon Moreno, only a favorite in 4 of 10 fights. He went 3-1. So, do we back the champion in Brandon Moreno, or is his supposed kryptonite Alexander Pantoja the play?
Yeah, think you sort of foreshadowed what my play is going to be. Pantoja, if you look at the fight in 2018, and I know it was a while ago, Moreno didn't lose. Moreno got whooped. I think it was 30-26 on like 3 scorecards. Pantoja beat the shit out of him. Like, it was a walkover.
I didn't see it like in full, but I've seen the highlights. And
Pantoja is, I mean, you know, beat Brandon Royval, beat Manuel Cape recently. Like, he's fought the best of the best. Obviously, we know what Moreno's done against France and Figueiredo, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, again, I could be wrong. We've seen it before. Remember with fucking, you know, Alec Pereira against, you know, Izzy Adesanya that, oh, you know, he can't win, and then he got knocked the fuck. Like, it could happen, but until that happens, I'm getting Pantoja plus money against the guy in 2018 that he basically walked over. Yeah, I'll go with Pantoja.
Gotcha. So let me get your insights on this too, because I this was a stat I mentioned, but I'm surprised you didn't bring up. So Brandon Moreno, since that fight, he's had 10 fights under his belt. Only 4 of them he was favored. He won 3. Pantoja, only twice as an underdog. He split it 1-1. Now you're getting Pantoja as a dog. Is that playing a bigger factor for this bet, or do you think the odds are correct? Like, what's your angle on that?
Well, I think too, you have to remember that Moreno's sort of a popular fighter. He's that young Mexican fighter. He was like the first Mexican champ. He's a very sort of outgoing guy. I mean, you just sort of look at value, and it's hard to sort of, you know, I mean, yeah, in an even fight, do I think it'd be a little less sort of certain in terms of, well, you know, I'm betting Pantoja? Yeah. But the fact that Pantoja did what he did against Moreno, and he's, you know, a plus whatever he is now, 160, 170. I mean, you just, you know, they're like begging you to pick Pantoja. And maybe that's a trap. I mean, maybe it's I just think there's a lot of public money on Moreno because I think he's a popular fighter. I think a lot of people like him, and he's outgoing, and he's a good sell. And I think he's just getting money where if you look at it rationally, Pantoja should be, you know, plus 120, not plus 170.
So here's my thinking, and if Moreno is the public favorite, if he's the public favorite, then you have to kind of consider what he's done lately since the fight in comparison, and look at Pantoja with that. And again, maybe this is bad thinking, but to me, Pantoja has not really fought the same caliber lately like Brandon Moreno. Now, albeit Brandon Moreno had to fight Davidson Figueiredo 4 fucking times in that span. But he also fought Kai Kara France. Took him down like it was nothing. Davidson Figueiredo, arguably, probably, if not the best, the second best flyweight in the UFC. he went 2-1-1 against him. And that was all after this fight. Brandon Moreno, he had a draw against Askar Askarov, who, by the way, Askar Askarov happened to beat Alexander Pantoja. Pantoja, too. Yeah, and I mean, you look at Pantoja's last three, I would say Perez is the most impressive fight. Manel Cap and Brandon Royval, but he lost to Figueiredo. He barely, or not barely, he did beat Matt Schnell. So, I mean, there's that, but I just think you look at Brandon Moreno, and I see how much he's improved since that fight, and he's legitimately become not just a champion, but like that championship level. The question is, does Alexander Pantoja go on that pedestal as well? And to me, for a guy who hasn't beaten Davison Figueiredo, for a guy who couldn't even beat Askar Askarov, I don't understand why there's so much public money. Like, or not maybe public money. There's a lot of sharp money I hear on Pantoja. And to me, that sort of makes him a public favorite in that sense, and public dogs have fleas. And this just seems like a trap. So, and it's hard to beat a guy 3 times in a row, especially when the last time you fought him was 5 years ago. Now, again, I may be sounding like an idiot because Israel Adesanya had the same issue with Alex Pereira, and Pereira fucking knocked him out. So, you know, could it happen? Sure. But am I willing to go on a dog who hasn't really fought anyone that impressive to me over a Brandon Moreno who's had to fight championship caliber opponents for 4 years now? No, I'm not willing to do it.
One thing, and I'll leave it at this. Steve, do you normally make a lot of money betting against sharps? Like, is that the way to sort of? I love it.
No.
Well, you know, Pantoja's kind of a favorite because I hear a lot of sharps are putting money on him. Like, normally when the sharps are putting money on someone, that's a good indication that maybe there's something.
No, I will give that disclaimer. Betting against the sharps, you usually never win. But this, to me, just like I think this is, I don't want to say hate, but this just seems like the demise of Brandon Moreno has been pre-written. Like, Brandon Moreno didn't look that bad in his last, like, he didn't look bad at all in his last fight. He didn't look bad in any of his last 5 fights. If you ask me, like.
Yeah. No, I mean, the question is, does Pantoja have his number, or was that overblown? And, we're going to find out.
I don't know if it was, maybe it wasn't overblown, but that was also 5 years ago when, and that, by the way, after that, Brandon Moreno had to go to LFA to win and return to the UFC. Brandon Moreno, I mean, say what you will, he's a true underdog. Like, he had to fight his way back and do everything he can. Meanwhile, Pantoja's just been, I mean, in my opinion, he's just been kind of sticking around. And now he's just kind of I don't want to say randomly, but now he's getting his chance. And you look at the records and all that, like I said, both of these guys, 3 submissions under their belt, never lost via finish in the UFC. They both have 3 decision losses. They both have 9 wins in the UFC. Don't they seem, it's weird, they seem pretty even keel until you get to their head-to-head. And Pantoja's had the heads up, but that was 5 years ago. The question is this another Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira situation? And if you think it is, then then Pantoja's the play. To me, I don't think that's the situation this time around. And I'll leave it on that note. Finalizing this card is the main event. Alexander the Great Volkanovski, featherweight champion, 25-2, is going up against the interim champ, Yair El Pantera Rodriguez, 16-3, plus 285. Last fight, Volkanovski coming off his decision loss to Islam Makhachev in the lightweight unit. God, I don't even know what to say. The lightweight belt was on the line. Volk was going for 2. He lost. Rodriguez got a second round submission against Josh Emmett to get the interim belt. Mansman, dare we bet against Volkanovski? Or do we have someone new in line?
Not me. You look at the common opponents, Volkanovski's performed better. I think he's just one of those fighters who's just better. No offense to Yair Rodriguez. I just think Volkanovski's the better fighter. And you look at it, and the fight that stuck out to me, last fight against Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Volkanovski put him to sleep. Max Holloway beat Yair Rodriguez. And Volkanovski put his ass to sleep.
Stop. He didn't beat Yair Rodriguez. He clobbered him in the head. He had 275 significant strikes. I mean, why is this a question?
Yeah, Volk's just good. She's good.
Volk is arguably the pound for pound. I would actually argue he is the number 1 pound for pound fighter. I actually would.
Well, Makhachev beat him, so it's kind of hard to.
I mean, you could look at the aspects of fighting. There's the boxing. Yair Rodriguez couldn't even outbox Max Holloway, which, mind you, let's be fair, only Volkanovski could outbox Max Holloway. Maybe Dustin Poirier could too, again, if he was tasked with that down the line. But not many people could outbox Max Holloway. But the guy who can is the champion, and that's who you're going to get.
Yeah.
This isn't a Josh Emmett situation where you could tire him out for a couple rounds, get a good hit, and take him to the ground and get a submission. This Alexander Volkanovski, if I'm going to remind the people, refused to tap in a choke against Brian Ortega and then proceeded to whip his ass for 4 rounds. So, to me, it's like you're not going to choke him out. You're not going to outbox him. You literally show up to a press conference with a new interim belt in a Mexican style. With all this pride in mind. But, God, I would hate to see this go to decision. I really would. I don't even know if that's even. I hope Volk goes in and just goes for the finish because if I'm Volk, I don't want this to go 5 rounds. I just want to end this quick and make a statement.
And what hurts too, if you're back in the dog, when you think about sort of Amanda Nunes losing after a bunch of title defenses, Valentina Shevchenko getting sloppy, throwing a stupid spinning back kick to lose a title. Izzy fighting a guy who, sort of has history beating him. Like these longtime champs, a lot of times it's sort of, this one, Volk's coming off a loss, he's going to be motivated. It's not where the guy's made 7 title defenses and maybe you sort of catch him sleeping. Maybe he throws a stupid kick. Maybe he comes out flat. I would expect that he's going to be raring to go. And, a motivated Volkanovski is not who, not the person I would want to fight, to tell you the truth.
I wouldn't want to fight him either. And I'll say this too. I thought the Josh Emmett, Yair Rodriguez interim championship fight was kind of dumb to begin with. I think a lot of these interim championship fights are very dumb, especially because of how
pay-per-views.
I don't even think it's trying to sell pay-per-views, but I think it's it's the old school. Think about it. Conor McGregor was one of the last double champs, and then he left, and they didn't know what to do. So they had all these interim championship fights. That makes sense. But you have these guys who literally take a couple months to recover from injury or Say you have a Volk who wants to go for double championship, and all of a sudden it's, oh, we need an interim. Like, I don't even really believe Yair Rodriguez should have been in contention for an interim belt. Neither should have Josh Emmett, truth be told. I think both of them should have had to go through Max Holloway because Yair Rodriguez sure as shit couldn't. That made no sense to me because I want to say Max Holloway had a fight not long after that. But that's neither here nor there. Yair Rodriguez is the interim champion for the time being. But you're going up, like I said, you're going up against a guy you know you're not going to be able to outbox. So now you're going to have to wrestle him. But Volk was a rugby player. He's never lost at featherweight. He's let 6 of the last 7 go to decision, which means he will take his time and tire you out. I saw Yair towards the tail end of that Emmett fight, and let me tell you, if that had gone the distance, I kind of wonder how that would have went. And this is a fight with Volkanovski too. Like, he's had 4 knockouts in the UFC. It's been a while. This just seems like we're overdue. And this just to me seems like a fight. Volk's going to go 4 rounds. He's going to outbox him the whole entire time. Rodriguez is going to try and get takedowns. Volk's just going to defend him. I mean, he went 5 rounds with Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
Like, that's no easy task. And now all of a sudden, Rodriguez is I don't see plus 285 being worth it. I don't see like a 120 even being worth I don't even know where in anybody's right mind it makes sense to bet on Rodriguez.
No, and that's why, Volkanovski's the favorite that he is. But yeah, I mean, there's really only one play. It's Volkanovski.
So last note I got, Yair Rodriguez, he does have a 5-inch height advantage. Maybe we'll see that come into play in the fight. We can only find out tomorrow when we watch this pay-per-view. All right, Money Mansman. Early prelims, best play.
Oh, yeah. Best play, let me just make sure I get the early prelim. Yeah, this is tough, but I'm going with Jesus Aguilar against Shannon Ross. Like I said, Aguilar lost that tough fight to Taira last time out. Like him to get a bounce back against the Tomato Camp. So,
hell yeah. All right, my best play there, my underdog for the early prelims, Marcin Prachnio, plus 195 right now.
I like that one too. I endorse that one too, Prachnio. Absolutely.
All right, prelim card, best bet.
Yep. Alonzo Menifield is a slight underdog against Jimmy Crute. Like him not to grab the fence this time and maybe even get the knockout against Jimmy Crute.
I endorse that 100% as well. I'm also going to go with a bold prediction. Yazmin Jauregui by decision minus 110. Just to give you guys something different. All right, main card. Best bet, dog. And then if you have a third play, go for it.
Sure. Okay. So, geez. All right. What I'll do is I'll do my dog will be Pantoja for the reasons I discussed like 15 minutes ago, like him against Moreno. But I think the best play, Robert Whittaker. And if you want to get fancy, Robert Whittaker by decision, I could really see him just beating up Duplessis for 3 rounds and Duplessis hanging tough. So Whittaker, I'll make my best play. Pantoja, the dog.
All right, underdog play. Dan Hooker. You could take him at plus 2. Sorry, where did I have him at? You could take Dan Hooker at plus 240, or you could take him plus 3.5 at plus 150 on DraftKings if you want to bet the spread.
You're getting me on that plus 150, plus 3.5 train.
All right, Robert Whittaker to win by knockout. Best play. Bonus bet. Bo Nickel under a minute. Plus 275.
Why not? Flick a chip.
Why not? Yeah, flick a chip. Bonus play. All right, so my parlay, just so you know, Dan Hooker plus 3.5, Whittaker by knockout, Prachnio, Menifield, Jauregui to win by decision, 64-1.
Jesus. Oh, there you go. Your
There's your
lottery ticket
5-pick
of the day.
parlay. All right. Monty Manson, any final thoughts before we sign off?
No, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun card. Looking forward to it.
I'm super hyped for this card. Can't wait to get with you on this one. This one might be
I
a
was
live
going to
stream.
say we'll have to figure it out. Let me know what you want to do, and we'll.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we will definitely discuss off air. D-Gents, thank you once again for joining us. I'm Big Bucks Beta. Money Mansman, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you, guys. You have a good night.